From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Library of Congress. Good evening. Glad to have you here. My name is John Cole. I'm the director of the Center for the Book in the Library of Congress, which is the reading and literacy promotion part of the library. And I'm very pleased to welcome you to the River of Words award ceremony. River of Words has been a partner of the Center for the Book since the project was created by Pamela Michael and Robert Hass, whom you will meet and will be our moderators tonight. We're very pleased that River of Words is moving ahead and really prospering right now. And I want to thank, in particular, St. Mary's College of California, and we have a representative whom we will hear from later, Dean Phyllis Metcalf Turner, who's the Dean of the School of Education. And I would like us to applaud her as a thank you to St. Mary's for its support of River of Words. I am also a historian of the Library of Congress, and I feel the need to tell you just a bit about where you are. You're in the Madison Building. The Library of Congress's three major buildings on Capitol Hill are all named for presidents who were book lovers and reading promoters. I can't say that they were artists necessarily, but they certainly were involved with reading because they built huge personal libraries. And the first was Thomas Jefferson, for whom our 1897 first building is named. The second is John Adams, for whom our 1939 building was named. It was initially called an annex building, but we needed to get the name of a president whose name started with A when Dr. Daniel Borston, who created the Center for the Book, said he'd never heard of a Mr. Annex. And if we were going to name our buildings for presidents, we needed an A, and it turned out John Adams signed the bill in 1800 that created the Library of Congress, which is the nation's oldest federal cultural institution. And this building was named for James Madison, and several of you were able to go into Madison Hall earlier downstairs, which has wonderful quotations about the relationship between learning and libraries and knowledge, and the kind of thing that's represented by both the Center for the Book and the wonderful River of Words project. We're very proud to have a series of sponsors that bring this project to life, and we're very proud to have all of our finalists here tonight and their parents and their families. And I just urge you, if you come back to Washington for our guests, please come back and visit the Jefferson and the Adams building, and remember how important that books and reading and art are to our culture and the building of knowledge in our wonderful democracy. I'm now turning the program over to Pamela Michael and Bob Hass, who are the founders and are the creators of the wonderful project that you're about to learn about, and together we're going to celebrate. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to continued work with River of Words, and we hope a long-term relationship with the families who are here to celebrate their wonderful finalists. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Pamela Michael.
Wow. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. We've been told they lock the doors at 9:30, so we're going to talk fast. We, for years, have brought our grand prize winners and our international winner and our teacher of the year to Washington for this ceremony and put them up at a hotel and tried to show them the seat of government where a lot of decisions that affect our environment and our lives are made, at least for those of us in this country. And actually, the decisions made in Washington affect the whole world, of course. A few years ago, a family asked if they could bring their child to be honored as a finalist if they found their own way to Washington, and we said, of course. And so we started inviting finalists to come at their own expense to be honored. And indeed, each year we've had a wonderful array of kids from around the country and even other countries. This year, when we extended the invitation, about 25 kids said yes. So we have a really, really, really wonderful roster of children to honor here today. And we're going to have the poets read their poems. There's art on display of the winners and finalists. There are many more finalists who are not here, so we don't have their art here. And these, you will notice, are copies. The originals are right now on display at the St. Mary's College Museum in California. And they get exhibited in various places all over. So these are copies. But you can also go online and see the entire array. I'm going to bring Bob Hass up here. He will kind of shepherd the poets through their reading of their wonderful pieces, and we'll give them some prizes and awards and certificates and our encouragement and love and congratulations. Thank you all so much for being here. Bob?
Hi, I'm Bob Hass. I served as Poet Laureate of the United States from 1995 to 97, and while I did, I got together with John Coles and with Pamela Michael. And you kids, when I walked into the Center for the Book almost 20 years ago, and saw some of the posters that from John's different projects, it was a time when I was not feeling particularly optimistic about this country. And I saw that artwork, and I saw that writing, and I thought, oh, right, that's right. These kids are amazing. You're our future. The idea of River of Words that was started then was that we could reflect back to the country your talent, your energy, your way of seeing the earth and its richness and its abundance and the care we need to take care of it. And for all of you folks, children and parents and teachers and interested friends, that's what you're going to be seeing and hearing for the next hour or so, is these amazing voices. You get to have some of the experience we have when all of the children's poetry and art comes pouring into our office in California. Poems from almost every state in the Union, artwork and poetry from all over the world, and it's enough to make you feel that the world is alive with new talent and new seeing. And so you kids, pay attention to each other because you're going to be hearing and seeing each other and the possibilities of it. Could all the children in the audience, the finalists and the winners and their friends and brothers and sisters, please stand up so we can say to you, way to go. So the rest of this is going to be you guys. With the first set of reading, all of these are going to be available to you in this remarkable book. And if you want copies of other books, and especially those of you teachers, you want copies for your classroom, and you do, so that kids can see what other kids are doing, be in touch with us at the River of Words, which is at the Center for Environmental Literacy at St. Mary's. So for starters, could we have 8 of the young poets come stand right over here? Sarah Baldino from Bethesda, Maryland, and Sarah Brodniks from Washington, D.C., Eli Chavez from Windsor, Colorado, John Culver from West Des Moines, Iowa, Katie Rose Dion from Gainesville, Georgia, Emma Finch from Carmel, California, Cotton Klopa, is that? How do you say your name, dear? Katie Ruth? Caden, are you here? Kloppa? C-L-O-P-P-E? Caden? Caden Klopp. Caden, there you are. Caden. Like Kate. Oh, and in an elegant suit, Caden.
Oh, wow.
Outdressed us. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Gabriela Gonzalez Co from Santiago, Chile. Are you here, Gabriela? Great. So, you guys, here's the thing. Pam is going to hand you your poem. You're going to come up to the podium. If you need help to stand, adjust the microphone and give them your poem.
So we have the first, if you look at your program, we're going off the board. Clara Baldino from the President.
Poems hide. Poems hide everywhere. You just have to find them. Under the bed with the monsters I can't see. Crammed in between my stuffed animals and on top of the piano strings. Poems hide on the other side of the moon. In baby socks that don't fit my feet but hold millions of memories. In the lopsided hamper, half filled. Each piece of clothing holding a story of their own. In the rings of milk left on the tabletop. They hide in car engines, banana peels spotted with age, and shadows crawling across my ceiling at night. Poems hide on the static television screen, and the blank one too, in torn-up wrapping paper, in the dictionary, and even in people strutting down Sangamore Avenue, with a spring in their step. But most of all, poems hide in me, and I will keep it that way forever. Poems hide everywhere. You just have to find them.
Thank you, my dear. I forgot to say that if you have copies of the book and want to get the autographs of these young authors, we hope we'll have a little time at the end.
Nobody has copies of the book because we're not allowed to sell them here, but the kids all get them in their gift bag.
So, next.
And Bob, kids, we realize that Bob's signature is not on these lists. So you can either do it as we bring them up to the
No,
podium
it's
or
too
afterwards.
complicated. We'll do it afterwards. So,
here's your
Sarah Brodnick.
Middle light. Poetry is the silver key to the lock that holds the future of the world. And as the daylight darkened into night, with the sky in inky black depth, dotted with stars of golden tinsel, I could write the future with nothing but moonshine in my hands.
Oh. Sarah, that is so amazing. That's wonderful. This year, for some reason, we got an enormous number of poems, including very striking poems like these two, about poetry. So in the anthology, which is usually made up entirely of nature poems, we made a special section of the children writing poems about poetry, and they're really, as these are, remarkable. Our next reader is Eli Chavez from Windsor, Colorado. Climb right up here, Eli. And here's your short poem.
It's only 4 lines. You can do this.
Should we do it together? We'll do it together. So Eli and I are going to read this together, this wonderful poem. Desert
Water.
silence. Far away from my house, that is waiting quietly for me to visit. This is a poem that is so sweet and it's quiet that I think we need to hear it twice. Desert water is silent. It is far, far away from my house. It is waiting quietly for me to visit. You make us all visit your quiet, watery place. Thank you so much, Eli. Life takes courage. And our next reader is John Culver from West Des Moines, Iowa.
Frogs. Frogs jump and leap on the lily pads. The water is still as it flows slowly in the marsh. Frogs. I watch them and think to myself, does anyone ever feel bad for the flies?
So smart. That's called ecological thinking, yes, right. Thank you, John. Our next reader is Katie Rose Dion from Gainesville, Georgia.
All right, my poem is called Stream of Consciousness. My pen is a water strider skimming the page, whirling, twirling, unfurling letters into words. Thirsty for knowledge of flora, fauna, and flow. I ride rivers in my dreams, track treasure on Georgia's streams, splashing, crashing, geocaching, a watershed moment. Discovering the prize, not in a box, but in memories too wild to be tamed by mere pen and paper.
Oh, that was wonderful. And so
Thank you so much.
It was wonderful.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Here you go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Emma Finch from Carmel, California, right here.
Winter Dance. She sleeps, lips blue with cold, high cheekbones dusted with flakes of snow. Her eyes open, startlingly violet against her pale face, framed by long dark lashes. She laughs, a sudden, shocking sound in the dark silence of the pine woods. Quick as thought, she leaps to her feet, dancing atop icy ponds and towering snowdrifts, a silken scarf fluttering behind her like gossamer wings. Clouds of mist flow from her rosebud lips as she sings, a high, keening sound, her words spoken in an ancient tongue long lost from the mind of man. Her hands flash in mystic gestures, and soft flakes of snow like the feathers of angels float down from the sky, alighting gently on the tops of green boughs whose undersides glisten with crystal spears of ice. As she dances, the very earth freezes beneath her feet. Dewy grass is covered in creeping silver frost, its fresh green stalks withering to twisted ribbons of brown. She slows now, breathing hard, her cheeks pink from exertion. Her eyelids droop, and she stumbles. Beneath the spreading branches of a colossal oak, spears of green poke their tips through a layer of melting snow. She sits beside them, bare legs folding gracefully, her long scarf sodden with meltwater and stained with mud. Slowly she slumps to the ground, lying curled beside the trunk of the tree. Her dark lashes touch her rosy cheeks, her face a dream of perfection. before the last remaining snow crashes down from the high branches to bury her once more in an icy tomb, and winter sleeps again.
You're reading these poems, and I was saying the kids teach us to be alive. If there's some moment as we read through them, something like the sound of the shock of that laugh in that poem, you think, wow, this is, I think it was Marianne Moore said, poetry is real toads in imaginary gardens. You can always tell when you see the real toad. Our next reader is Caden Cloppa from Windsor, Colorado. Cloppy from Windsor, Colorado.
The cloud is a tiger. It sneaks up on a sunny day and brings sadness to its prey.
I think we can do that twice.
The cloud is a tiger. It sneaks up on a sunny day and brings sadness to its prey.
Thank you for that elegant suit.
Oh.
It really does look good with the red ribbon. So next is from Santiago, Chile, Gabriela Gonzalez Cu.
Snaking down the rocks, slithering quietly like little layers of shuffling sand or baby snake rattles. Like a skinny serpent, we curled down into the valley, the pale blue scales glinting in the sun and reflecting the night sky moon. We wriggle out of that shallow scoop of land and journey closer to your home, your nest. Quietly in that never-ending frozen pull, you slide with a small splish sleep sound as you sink and slumber into the ocean.
So, as Sarah said in the first poem, poems are hidden everywhere. Here are some more of them. Our next set, the final set of the finalists. Maria Ramirez, could you come up from Lancaster, Pennsylvania? Cameron Manor from San Juan Capistrano, California. Don Dupenny, is that pronouncing your name right? From Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Haley Knight from Roswell, Georgia. Catherine Richard from Windsor, Colorado. Whitney Short from Fairfield, Connecticut. Kate Sunberg from Sarasota, Florida. And Aaron Zecca from Fort Dodge, Iowa. These children are respectively 9, 12, 10, 13, 6, 8, 14, and 9 years old. So get to see many stages of their brilliant growing up.
Ring around my homeland. In the Dominican Republic, I started talking with the hints of the weather. At the ocean, all of the palm trees surround me. By my house, the ocean was usually as quiet as the floor. When I got home, the world of my family was around me. They were celebrating with the pot chicken in the stove. The wind blew outside, frightening me, but inside we were just eating, just talking quietly at the table in my home.
Cameron Manor, San Juan Capistrano.
Driving to the end of the world. Have you ever been to the end of the world? Grandpa's eyes twinkle as he looks down on us. Two tow-headed kids in old jeans, one in a pink cowgirl shirt. We nod dumbly, not quite sure what this means, but ready for an adventure. Grandpa revs the engine of his ancient bright red convertible, and we fly down Main Street past Sonic Burger and the 99-cent store. 20 seconds later, our town melts into wind-blown gold grass, and we are utterly, deliciously alone. In Kansas, there is a special kind of silence, the peaceful, not the lonely kind, that comes from living on and with the land. Sometimes we talk, sometimes we say nothing. A wooden gate that says end of the road. Beyond it, the horizon beckons, and the grass waves, an earthly vision of heaven.
That line about the peace that comes from realizing you're living with, not on the land. I don't know how you know that. It's wonderful. And Don Newpenny from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Don, is that right? Don?
Nepal. When I dream, I see my people, my mountain and my homeland. The high, beautiful Himalayas, the sun bright on the hills. I remember the blue thread of my friend's sari and the design on her mother's jama. I miss my homeland, my powerful mountain, and my kind people.
I'm making a note of the missing certificates so families don't worry, they will get them.
Haley Knight is from Roswell, Georgia.
Speech. Thoughts dripping in the back of your mind. Feelings drowning in the logic of oneself. Ideas flowing in from one place to another. Words glistening on the edge of sentences. Speech is the water of action.
You know, that's so beautifully put together. Thank you, Haley. That poem, I think, was all one sentence. Breathing down to has that, the force of intelligence. Somebody I read about teaching kids to write said, you learn to be a person by making a sentence that you made, you said it. Feel that strength of these kids in their speech as they come up. The next child is Catherine Richard from Windsor, Colorado.
Here's your poem right here. Step right up here.
The icicle. The ice just hangs there in icicle my house, completely silent. In the sunlight it drips, in the moonlight it freezes, completely silent.
One of the things that was lovely about that is that you got to feel that it's pure observation, just given, and by just saying what's there and not saying anything about it, she gets the silence she's talking about. Quite wonderful. Thank you so much, Catherine. And now, Whitney Short from Fairfield, Connecticut.
Whitney, how many people did you bring to the ceremony? Is there anybody left in Fairfield?
Flowing river. Flowing river, flow, 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 flowing river, flow. Make erosion and deposition, create habitats and homes. Flowing river, flow, 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 carry leaves and dirt, then lose energy and drop. Flowing river, flow, 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 flowing river, flow, carry water to the ocean, flowing river, flow.
Hang on a second. One of the things that we thought was really wonderful about your poem is that you got the science and the music both in the same poem. Would you read it one more time?
Flowing river, flow, 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 flowing river, flow, make erosion and deposition, create habitats and homes. Flowing river, flow, 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 carry leaves and dirt, then lose energy and drop. Flowing river, flow, 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 flowing river, flow, carry water to the ocean, flowing river, flow.
Oh, that's a wonderful poem. Thanks a lot. Come over here and get you a medal. One of the people who helped us found River of Words was an English hydrologist and expert on the flow of rivers named Phil Williams, who was working for Bechtel building big major dam projects, and he decided that the right kind of dam to build for the rest of the 20th century and for the next century is no dams. No damn dams. He wanted to make the rivers flow, and we're going to send him a copy of your poem. Our next reader is Kate Sundberg from Sarasota, Florida.
Omitted. When we were young, my sister and I played in fields of clover. Wove clover blossom chains for each other and picked dandelions to make wishes. We climbed up the ivy-covered sycamore tree, searching for the occasional doe in the brush. Walking through the woods, our pockets soon bulged with acorns, and our faces became sticky with blackberry juice. But today's children will not have these memories, so when words are no longer present in dictionaries, how long will it be before they are not present in our lives?
Can I say something? This poem has a very interesting genesis. A couple of years ago, Bob told me that the Oxford Junior Dictionary was eliminating a bunch of, they called them old nature words, to make room for email, chat room, bungee jumping. And we put it in our fundraising newsletter one year because we thought it was really horrible and shocking. And Joanna, where are you? Yeah. Joanna Fox, Kate's teacher in Sarasota, Florida, read our newsletter and must have discussed it with her students because this poem uses words. You want to cite some of them? These are words that are no longer in the Oxford Junior Dictionary because they're not important.
So, would you read it again?
Yeah. Listen for these words.
When you were young, my sister and I played in fields of clover, wove clover blossom chains for each other, and picked dandelions to make wishes. We climbed up the ivy-covered sycamore tree, searching for the occasional doe in the brush. Walking through the woods, our pockets soon bulged with acorns, and our faces became sticky with blackberry juice. But today's children will not have these memories, so when words are no longer present in dictionaries, how long will it be before they are not present in our lives?
Beautifully safe. You did a great job with that. And finally, among our poetry finalists, Aaron Zika from Fort Dodge, Iowa.
The kite. The flurry of wind blows my kite to the heavens. My soul goes on wings.
Twice. Is that right?
Zika. Zika.
Zika.
The kite. The flurry of wind blows my kite to the heavens. My soul goes on wings.
Wonderful. So sweet, dear. For the art winners, if you haven't done so, and finalists, you're going to have the pleasure of walking by that work, looking at the stunning vitality of it. And among the finalists who are here to be honored, could you guys just come up to the front? Rachel Burrow from Suwanee, Georgia. Myra Durham from Bozeman, Montana. Patrick Hart from Huntsville, Alabama. And Jason Yu from Suwanee, Georgia. Rachel is 10, Mara is 13, Patrick is 12, and Jason is 9. So you'll see them as they beautiful work.
Is that place really called? Is that a real place?
Well, some of it might be because I saw some of the scene in China.
Where in China?
I don't remember.
But you have that image in your head.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
And Rachel, we have your certificate, but not your notice, so you'll get that in the mail. And here's your
And hear from a very talented family, the longtime friends of River of Words. So I've known you since you were that high. And now you're here with this stunning lute.
I chose to draw wolves because I think they're very beautiful and natural, and I see lots of them where I live in Montana.
I have to say a little more about Mira. Mira is 13 now. 14. She was a grand prize winner when she was 8, as was her sister, who just graduated or is graduating this year from Bennington, when she was 8. And Mira's brothers, Jackson and Max graduated from Bennington last year. Jackson, Ella's twins, graduating this year, have all been finalists. We call the Darms the most winning family in River of Worth history. And that's their mother taking pictures back there, and their father, John. They're homeschooled, and they do River of Worth art every year and send us the most wonderful packets. So, good to see you again, Mira.
Patrick Hart. What about it? What gave you that tree?
I saw a commercial. It was for computers, and it had this old tree on a starry background, and I just felt like drawing that.
Was it black like that? That intense stripe?
No, it had light.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for it. Very powerful.
We brought all these prizes all the way from California, so they.
And Jason, you here.
We left somebody off the program, but Jason is next in the slide, so we'll take you. And we didn't bring Jason's real art, although that's that's not the real art. That's a copy. So this is Jason's amazing white wolf. We just love the stance of it. So Jason, you want to talk about it? No?
You did your talking in your art, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Was
Yeah, we'll just, no, we didn't. This is somebody else's for now, but we're going to do it. Wait, we'll send you this email. And now I have to take it back. I'm sorry. I want to give Jason a really big hand.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, honey.
Thanks so much for your work. And
then Nadia Smirnova, who's originally from the Ukraine, and she is now from Huntsville, Alabama. We had a lot of wonderful winners from, we do have her art, but not her slides. She submitted 2 pieces.
hold them up.
I really want to talk about this one. In this picture, you see 2 flowers, and the flower that really is beautiful and blooms is the one that got most of the water, and the one that didn't it died. So it shows how important water is to our lives.
The theme of the River of Words contest is watershed, so that's why this theme permeates. These are beautiful. While Bob is showing the artwork, we have, for the first time ever, I think, here at our ceremony, we have music. And the reason we have music is that, was it 2 years ago, David? 2 years ago, I got a call from a professor at Southwestern University in Georgetown, Texas, and he said that there was a dearth of repertoire for baritone and guitar. And so, and that he wanted to do a song cycle using an environmental theme, and he had come upon the River of Words poems, and he was getting a grant to commission composers to write for guitar and voice using poetry, and to premiere those pieces live. You just played at Kennedy Center last week. This is his colleague, Bruce Kane, who's also on the faculty at Southwestern. Come on up. And they're performing the River of Words song cycle using some poems from past years of River of Words. These are only, because our time is so short today, they've come all this way to play like 5 minutes of music. So please give them a warm welcome. This is Bruce Kane and David Asbury. Thank you. so much, David Asbury and Bruce Kane. You're recording these, right? Wonderful. It's just thrilling. This is part of a trend now. We have a partnership called Youth Inspiring Youth with a 45-year-old women's chorus in California. And we are in our 5th year of commissioning young composers under 25, who are competitively chosen, not by us, but by the chorus music director. And they set River of Words poems to music and premiere them. And we did one premiere last year here at St. Patrick's here in Washington. They traveled east. And I think we're working on our 9th and 10th compositions for Youth Inspiring Youth now. And what's wonderful is sometimes at the premieres, they have a pre-concert discussion between the composer and the poet. And there might be a 19-year-old and an 8-year-old on stage answering questions. And it's wonderful. It's really wonderful. Our next awardees are our grand prize art winners, of which number 1 is up on the screen. Bob, do you want to take over?
So could we ask the grand prize winners that the awards are given in 4 categories for the different age levels. And the winner in the first category, a piece called Relaxing on Water, is by Christina Yu of Suwanee, Georgia. She's there. And the category 2 is Forest Fox, Jack Colin Robertson, Cumming, Georgia. Could you come up? And category 3 is Fishing with My Dad, Morgan Rojic from Madison, Alabama. And category 4, Memory of Hubei River in Beijing by Billy Hay Lee. Could you come up? And so first of all is Christina, and you can see her relaxing on water. What a sweet thing you did. What gave you the idea for it?
There's a picture of someone taking a picture of the river with two girls relaxing.
Do you do a lot of art?
What?
Very good. It's so vivid and alive, and it made for the relaxing. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
I just want to say Christina is Jason's sister, so runs in the family.
Talented family. Yeah. And next, from Cummings, Georgia, is in a really elegant suit, is Jack Robertson from Cummings, Georgia. Yes, Jack? Cummings.
And you like to be called Colin, right?
Colin. That is a delicious, is that a fox?
Red fox.
Red fox. Delicious creature. It's full of wit and vitality. It made me think of the fact that in fairy tales, the fox is always a bit of a trickster. And you caught that aspect. Was it fun to do, or?
Yeah.
You just want to say a word about it, what you were up to?
Well, the reason I came up with it was, well, in my class and my Horizons class, we were studying watersheds and habitats. And I just recently did a poster on habitats, and one of the first things on it was a red fox. So that was the first thing that popped in my head.
Oh, great. Wonderful. And there it was, and what a popping into the head. It's great. You're a creative guy. So here's your right over there. Thank you so much.
He's ready for a close-up.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? There's been a mix-up. Not Christina Wood. Christina, do you? We'll do it again.
We could take care of that later. Yeah. I think she
Who's
got
got
your
Jack Colin Robertson's certificate?
the same.
Let's see. Maybe it's, oh, it's right here, Jack.
Colin.
And that's with Christina. I realized you got the whole wrong caboodle because we give you a print of your piece. So yours. So bring that to this side too, and I'll trade you, okay? You too. That's your red sock. You got it? Great. Thank you very much. You know, when you're just
Yeah.
and then you get this. Okay, now we got it straight.
Colin, your remark about what you're doing was when we dreamed this program up almost 20 years ago. I was the poet laureate, and I was at which is a weird job. And I was invited to come to Washington and to represent American writing to the world for a couple of years. And I'm from the West, and I thought what we ought to do is represent the environmental tradition in writing, so important, the West. And at the same time, there was a conference about how to teach stewardship of the environment for the future. 20 years ago, there was not a lot of it in the schools, by getting kids to do art and poetry by way of learning their habitat, and also because you guys are playing outdoors all the time and we're laboring away in offices, that you are seeing the world and can reflect it back to us and its vitality. So what you described doing is just exactly what we hoped that you guys would be doing, and that you'll be doing for the rest of your lives, giving your energy to that and seeing to that love of place that we all carry with us. Our next grand prize winner is Morgan Rozic from Madison, Alabama. Fishing with my dad.
Every year my family and I go to Wisconsin to visit relatives, and it's a tradition for my uncles who used to take us fishing. So my dad usually helps me bait the hook and I take the fish off. So that's what inspired me to do this painting.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful. Did it come to you as a silhouette idea? Yeah, it's very powerful.
It looks like it's glowing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's radiant.
You know, I don't know how many of you are just visiting Washington for this week, for this. Do we have time? There is an extraordinary show at the National Gallery by one of the most powerful Japanese artists who practically reinvented color painting in Asia. His name is Ito Jaikuchu. And I think the reviewer in the Washington Post said the only thing I've ever seen as beautiful is the first time I saw a show of Vermeer, which is more or less my experience today. They're flower and bird paintings. And as with the work of these children, they convey the enormous vitality of life with a sense of wonder that just stops you cold. And one of the things that he did is use a little bit of splash technique. You have to go over and look at what she's done to see what she's done with this sky, but it's incredibly subtle and beautiful, and it's just so alive. So thank you for your work. Thank you so much. We have over the years gotten enough bird paintings that I think we're about ready to do a book of them. And this, I'm not sure if it's a tern or a kingfisher, but this remarkable painting, Memory of Hubei River in Beijing, is one of the most exciting of these. And this is Bill Lee.
Oh, this is a recollection of a park that I used to frequent in my hometown in Beijing, China. Oh, I think the main thing about this picture is that while the background is really blurry, the bird in the foreground, the hummingbird in the foreground, is very sharp. This actually represents how the memory is in my mind right now. Like, the physical setting of the park has faded away over the years, while the memory of that one hummingbird flying by still remains as vivid as ever.
So, Bill, how did you know how to get the contrast between the sharpness of the bird and that haziness of the background?
Years of experience.
That's like, did you hear that in the back when he said, that's like that joke about, the Texan goes up to somebody in New York and says, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? And the guy says, practice, practice, practice.
Here you go, Bill.
Thank you so much. There are two great rivers flowing through Washington, D.C. One of them is the Potomac, and the other is the Anacostia. And over the years of our working on this project, we've made friends with the Anacostia Watershed Society, which has worked very hard to clean up that river. And we, therefore, each year try to select one poem for an Anacostia River Prize from a child in Washington, D.C. And the winner this year of the Anacostia River of Words Prize is Julian Dixon from Sidwell Friends School. Are you here?
A bird's eye view. A field of green grass, now metropolis, soon to be washed away, along with the stars in the sky, by the tornado of black smoke, nonchalantly hovering above, as we feast upon dying species and blame sharks for it all. The taxes we pay turn into nuclear plants instead of schools. But the few who will not settle for the mediocre planet exceed limits to build this world. Those who brought down Mubarak, those who declare war on Wall Street, those who fight for the freedom of all races, those who bring armies down with words, those who clean up the stains of red coloring our seas, those who take the great hourglass of time and flip it over, give this world a second chance.
Whoa! Ferocious. It's amazing. Thank you very much.
How's that for an Earth Day poem?
How's that for an Occupy Earth Day poem, right? To flip this world over and give it a second chance. I want to see your poem next year.
I want to thank John McShane, who's been our photographer, volunteer for many years. He's with USEPA, who also fund our anthology every year. Thank you.
Yes.
And Will, who's here from the EPA. Thank you.
So now we come to the Grand Prize finalists in poetry, again in 4 age categories, beginning with Blakely Berryhill from Wisteria Hills, Alabama, 7 years old, Blakely, and Xavier Mendoza from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 9 years old in category 2, another terrific suit on, and then Ikia Lopez from Honolulu, Hawaii, age 12, here, and Kathy Guo from Madison, Connecticut, age 15. So first,
I happen to know she has it memorized.
Blakely.
My poem is called The Guards, and this is how it goes. The sun guards the daytime treasure while the moon stands watch over heaven's darkness. The stars help the moon until the puffy white clouds come back.
Oh. I think that's short enough that we can say it twice. I think it's short enough that we can Hear it again, yes.
The guard. The sun guards the daytime treasure while the moon stands watch over heaven's darkness. The stars help the moon until the puffy white clouds come back.
Thank you so much. And what a great dress, and what a great bow you wore with it. So here's yours. Thanks, my dear. Thank you so much. She might want her. And next is Xavier Mendoza.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
My poem is called The Changing River. River silver hat glitters in the night. The river is in the sun when the morning comes. It is time going slow and waiting to move again. River silver hat glitters in the night.
Oh. A little closer to the microphone. A little closer to the microphone and read it again. Beautiful silver. Listen to the third line of the four.
The changing river. River silver hat glitters in the night. The river is in the sun when the morning comes. It is time going slow and waiting to move again. River silver hat glitters in the night.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh, I hope you keep writing. It's really very good at what you do.
There you go, the big medal.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. One of the things we really loved about Paikia Lopez's poem is the way that she uses Hawaiian language in it to get near to the environment that she grew up in. Would you please come on up there?
Before my ancestors, if you are a sweet apple pine, I am the divine lehua that nourishes you. If you are a delicate alaike'okeo, I am the gentle pine that you enchant with your paw. If you are a lonely nene, I am the ono or hello berry bush you feed upon. If you are a brown lisan kaka, I am the air that lets you fly freely to your mate. If you are a cold a'o, I am the sun that warms your keiki. If you are a light brown koloa, I am the pond that you swim in with your brood. If you are a white eel, I am the brown feathers that take you to maturity. Now this is a poem of Hawaiian birds that were here before my ancestors were born.
Paikia, would you just say the names of the birds again and then read the poem again? Give us the names of the birds again.
Oh.
So we. She has a little dictionary that goes with it. I was just asking you to say the names of the birds for you to hear and then the poem again.
You don't have to read the Latin, just read the...
A awhawhana is a Hawaiian honey creeper, and a laike'okeo is a Hawaiian coot, a nene is a Hawaiian goose, the kaka is a duck, and a a'o is a
Newell puffin, or shearwater.
The shearwater, yeah.
And the koloa is a Hawaiian duck, and the eo is a Hawaiian hawk.
Yeah. Many of these birds are endangered because of invasive species coming to take over their habitat. And the Hawaiian environmentalists have been working really hard to try to preserve that habitat, and your words are going to help with that. Can you do the poem again now? Whole thing.
Before my ancestors, if you are a sweet apple pine, I am the divine lehua that nourishes you. If you are a delicate alaike'okeo,
I am the gentle pine that you enchant with your call. If you are a lonely nene, I am the ono or hello berry bush you feed upon. If you are a brown lyson kaka, I am the air that lets you fly freely to your mate. If you are a cold owl, I am the sun that warms your keiki. If you are a light brown koloa, I am the pond that you swim in with your blue. If you are a white eel, I am the brown feathers that take you to maturity. Now this is a poem of Hawaiian birds that were here before my ancestors were born.
Thank you so much. So, our Category 4 finalist, grand prize winner, is from Madison, Connecticut. As you'll see, her poem takes us quite a ways. Hang on to your hats for Kathy Guo.
This poem is called No Moon, No Place, Never. The desert ran like a black serpent. It pulled planes down into its orbital, and the tribal men watched fireworks on the second half moon of every month. Falling, falling men in a failing war, falling to the sand and mothers at last. Some stumbled to the edge of their village from their burning metal cockpits. Others were only a light show. What distinguished between the two was a matter of physics, not destiny. I was born there somewhere, sometime, in the land without calendars or clean shoes. An old brown woman took a piece of chalk to draw the moon's shape on the ground instead. The old woman said, "Today is your birthday." She said, "Remember the crescent's shape." She said, "Now." It's been years, then it's been decades. I'm afraid to go home because that would mean another plane ride. That would mean meeting physics in her layered kimono, the tribal men awaiting my fall to dust. There's the fear eating away at my sleeves with its teeth. So instead, I let my American family celebrate every birthday for me, even though sometimes the crescent looks wrong in the New England sky, too clear or not curved enough. So instead, I live paranoid of the vacuum that comes with desert or burnt sienna, because homesick tastes like copper rings on my tongue, like poisoned astrological marks in the virgin sand. I forget the old woman's drawing along with my surname. My desert spits its jealousy up into the stratosphere. My desert, beige indent on the uneven globe. My desert erases the birth chalk off thirsty earth. It says no moon. It says no place. It says never. Thank you.
Wow. Amazing. This is, among other things, as we read a fearless poem about fear. It's a poem that's not afraid to not settle into comfort. And do you want to talk a little bit about where it came from?
Oh, right. Well, this poem, I think, was inspired from the fact I wasn't describing my past. I think I was describing more of the landscape of my parents' past, because they, and I was born in this village which is near the Gobi Desert, and sort of looking at that landscape that's very devoid of water in some areas and trying to gather inspiration and find part of my past and part of my family's past in that landscape. That was where it came from.
Let's hear it again then.
Okay, thank you. Oh, it wrecks me every time I read it. The desert ran like a black serpent. It pulled planes down into its orbital, and the tribal men watched fireworks on the second half moon of every month. Falling, falling men in a failing war, falling to the sand and mothers at last. Some stumbled to the edge of this village from their burning metal cockpits. Others were only a light show. What distinguished between the two was a matter of physics, not destiny. I was born there somewhere, sometime, in the land without calendars or clean shoes. An old brown woman took a piece of chalk to draw the moon's shape on the ground instead. The woman said, "Today is your birthday." She said, "Remember the crescent's shape?" She said, "Now." It's been years, then it's been decades. I'm afraid to go home because that would mean another plane ride. That would mean meeting physics in her layered kimono and the tribal men awaiting my fall to dust. There's the fear eating away at my sleeves with its teeth. So instead, I let my American family celebrate every birthday for me, even though sometimes the crescent looks wrong in the New England sky, too clear or not curved enough. So instead, I live paranoid of the vacuum that comes with desert or burnt sienna, because homesick tastes like copper rings on my tongue, like poisoned astrological marks in the virgin sand. I forget the old woman's drawing along with my surname. My desert spits up its jealousy into the stratosphere. My desert, beige indent on the uneven globe. My desert erases the birth chalk off thirsty earth. It says no moon. It says no place. It says never. Thank you.
Oh.
There's much speculation about what that poem is about.
Sometimes you just read these poems and think, I find myself thinking about some phrase like birth chalk, and also about what poisoned astrological marks in the virgin sand. I just try not to be bitter and think, oh, well, beginner's luck.
Kind of, I'm sure, it's part of it. Thank you
Well,
so
what
much.
a beginning. Thank you so much. So, Pam.
Thanks, Bob. Whoa. We're actually, John, you'll be happy to know we're doing pretty well with time, aren't we? Our next prize, we didn't offer the first couple of years of River of Words. When Bob was poet laureate, he felt that his mandate was to reach out to children in the United States, and we did. And after he served 2 terms, we decided to open River of Words up to any child in the world between 5 and 19 who isn't in college. So we get entries from all over. And about 13 years ago, I got an email out of the blue from a boy living in a refugee camp in Quetta, Pakistan, where a lot of Afghan refugees lived then and live now. And he said, I'm an 11-year-old or however many-year-old boy with a great love of nature. And I found a 4-year-old copy of Ranger Rick magazine here in the camp that mentioned your program and your contest. And I was wondering, do you still do this contest? And when I got over my shock at how a 12-year-old boy in the refugee camp, and this is before internet was really everywhere. I thought, how does he have an email account? Anyway, I emailed back and said, yes, please. And we received a month or so later a package that is now on display at the St. Mary's College, muslin with sealing wax and stitched with twine and things stamped on it and glued to it. It was like something from another century as well as another place. And inside were some of the most beautiful and some of the most disturbing pieces of art and poems that we'd ever received. They were the work of children who were really struggling in a very difficult situation, many of whom had seen more violence than any human being ever would want to. And that began a relationship with the children in this camp, many of whom are taught by heroic art teachers in informal art academies. We get well, just to back up, that year I think we honored 3 kids and we sent art supplies and t-shirts and books, and next year we got, I don't know, a couple hundred entries. It was a big hit. Ultimately, an Afghan American, an Afghan-born journalist, Tamim Ansari, wrote an article for Parade magazine about this program and these boys. And we've been working with them for 13 years now and have an amazing collection of art from these children. Our winner this year, Rohala Hassani, was a finalist in 2010. And like many of these children, you get to see, not only from there, but from all over. It's wonderful because you get to see a poem from 8-year-old and then 12-year-old, and the same child, you get to see that development. Rohala sent us 13, I think, pictures. I don't have all of them here. One of them is on the easel over there, but just extraordinary variety and depth and beauty and rendering and power and sadness in some of them. This is the hole where the Buddha used to be, and that's the shape of Afghanistan. I'm going to ask, by absolute miracle, Ahmad Suja to come up with Rohala and help translate. I met Saturday night at our pizza party a man who came to help Rohala communicate with us. He came with his mother from Quetta, and the man I met was the man who sent me that email 13 years ago, who has come to the United States, has graduated from college, and is now helping other immigrants get education. And it's such an amazing story. So Rohala Hassani, could you come up and receive your prize? And Ahmad, would you come up with him, please?
Congratulations. It's really very wonderful. Thank you.
I'll be doing the interpretation here, so.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. در قدم نخست اول از همه تر از اول از همه تشکری و قدردانی از مرکزی و فورس، مخصوصا پاملا مایکل، رابرت هاس و جمله همه در جمع آنها همکارایشان و این قسمی که شما خبر دارید.
So he says, in the name of God, first of all, before everything, initially, I would like to thank River of Words, Pamela Michael, Robert Haas, and all of their friends and colleagues.
اما قسمی که خبر دارید هنر یک ساحه خیلی بزرگ است. اگر این هنر از منم بود ما امروز اینجا وجود نداشته نبودم، یعنی دریجی نبودم و امی هنرم بوده که ما در اینجا هستم. امی موفقیت از ما، امی کامیابی از ما توسط هنرم بوده و امی مقامی که ما گرفتم، امی پوزیشنی که ما گرفتم و امی جایزه که ما میگیرم، ما فقط بخش خود قبول نمونم، بخش فامیل خم نمونم، بلکه برای از اون مردم خود که در کویته پاکستان است که در بین خیلی دشت هایی که خیلی غم‌آور است و وحشتناک هم است جایشی، باز هم به هر حال در دو حالت کوشش می‌کنه، زحمت میشه تا که از دو ساحه خود را نجات بده.
And he says, as you know, I'm here standing in front of you because of my art, and had it not been because of my art, I would not have been here. And my position, the award that I'm getting, has been made possible because of my art. And he says, I'm not accepting this award only on my own behalf or on behalf of my family, but on behalf of all of my people who live in Quetta, in the vast deserts, who live under fear and who live under constant pain, and who still work hard and to get out of that area.
اما قسمی که ما در اینجا ما سفیر مردم از خود خواستم اما قسم پس وقتی در زمانی که من پس به کویتا رفتم برای مردم خود امی سخن میگم که ایت با مردم با احساس مردم پر از محبت عشق خود را احساسات خود را برای ما نشان داد و باز به هر حال ما باز هم تشکرین از مرکزی ریور و فارس مخصوصا خانم مایکل و ریور هارس و همکارایشان و تشکرین از شما و تشکرین از مردم مسخوت خوب که خدمت به اینجا همراهی کرده مرا یک جهان تشکر یک جهان تشکر جهان سپاس و سلام.
And he says, just as I am a representative and an ambassador of my people to you in the United States, and if I ever go back to my country, to my people, I will be an ambassador of the US to them as well. And I will convey to them the immense love and the immense care that you have shown to me. And once again, thank you very much. A whole world of thanks, and thank you very much.
So on your way out, you can get to look at some of his work, including this tear in the cosmic surface that the Buddha made through which cranes are flying. Our next and final prize.
Actually, I have some more examples of Rahala's art on the slides that are not here on the easels. So this, Brian, what do I aim it at? We saw that one. Okay. This one. This one. There's a little village on the side of the sheep there, if you can see. This, in the middle of the daisy, are lots of little people. I don't know whether you can see it or not. They're all kind of contorted. This one. Beautiful. Oh, there's Harriet. I first met Harriet Mayer in 2000 when her son Kevin was named Grand Prize Poetry winner for his poem about the Rockefeller Wildlife Preserve. And Kevin came to Washington with his family, and his mother was a teacher. And she took such an interest in River of Words, and she took it back to her community, back to Louisiana. And her best friend Connie, also a teacher, and Harriet cooked up writing programs and campouts where kids would camp for a week and write poems. She exemplified what we hope River of Words inspires in teachers, which is enthusiasm and innovation and passion and care. And so Connie, we named our Teacher of the Year in 2006 for her work, and Harriet came to Washington to celebrate that with her. Connie's here today to celebrate with Harriet. And I have visited Harriet and Connie in Louisiana and sat on a sandbar and read poems to each other, done workshops in the schools where they teach. This is a woman who is just extraordinarily dedicated to the profession. And this year, for the first time, the River of Words Teacher of the Year Award is being jointly presented by our new home at the Kalmanovitz School of Education at St. Mary's College. So it's coming not only from River of Words, but from a School of Education, which is so appropriate. And the dean of that school, Dr. Phyllis Metcalf Turner, is here to present Harriet with her award. So Dr. Phyllis Metcalf Turner.
Thank you so much, Pamela, and thank you, Bob. I'm very honored to be here. Most of this evening has brought me to tears, so I'm just so moved by the achievements that all of the children have made. Let's give them another round of applause. And And I want to thank you, parents and teachers, for supporting them too. But we all know that teaching is a critically important profession. And for each of us, whatever we've achieved in our careers, our vocation, and even in life, we can thank a teacher for lighting the pathway to the future. Exemplary teachers like Harriet Mahar recognize that even in seemingly homogeneous classrooms, each student brings his or her own unique skills and challenges. Teachers who are identified as exemplars like Harriet never make assumptions about a student's life outside school. They have the capacity to hold high expectations while at the same time compassionately understanding that we may live in the same place, however, we often do not live in the same world. Effective teachers like Harriet realize that in order to help students achieve their maximum potential, they must allow their students to also teach them who they are and what they need. Exemplary teachers like Harriet work tirelessly to support their students in meeting their high academic expectations. The goal is for the students themselves to hold high expectations for success. So on behalf of the Kalmanovich School of Education, faculty, staff, and students, as well as the Center for Environmental Literacy and River of Words, I'm honored to offer Harriet a small token of our recognition for her achievements as an exemplary teacher in America. Thank you so much, Harriet, for who you are. Let's keep the applause going. We rarely meet people like Harriet. Oh. Congratulations, Harriet. You are so wonderful. Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. And you see her husband out here. Let's move over. Come on and take a picture of him, Mike. Yes, yes. This is worth it.
Get my big side.
Thank you. All right, great. Go home.
Good evening. I am from Bayou Vermilion Watershed, Acadiana, the heart of French Louisiana, the home of the Cajuns, daughter of French-speaking parents from Lafayette in the West Gulf Coastal Plain on the western rim of the Atchafalaya Basin, the largest swamp in the United States. Over 30 years ago, my first date with the man who was to become my husband was in the Atchafalaya Basin, jig fishing for sac-a-lait in the green pirogue, or the wooden flat-bottomed canoe that you saw in the slide. I am from a town 30 miles inland from the Gulf of Mexico and 90 minutes east of the Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge, one of the most biologically diverse wildlife areas in the nation, home to alligators, white-tailed deer, 4 million waterfowl, shrimp, redfish, and blue point crabs. One of our many family crabbing trips to Rockefeller became the subject of a poem by my son Kevin. That poem landed him here a dozen years ago, and the effects of that experience still ripple in our family, perhaps most especially in me. So this is my voyage as a teacher, and because River of Words is River of Words, it's after all a water voyage. But if it were a form of poetry, it might be a litany or a listing poem. It might be a sonnet, a little love song with an argument and a turn, or even a sestina, recursive with repetitive themes and images. But whatever the form, it is this, surely, an homage to my colleagues and to this organization for the gift of giving joy in growth. Now I'm going to try to maneuver my slides. I'm not sure exactly that I can get this. So I am from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. I am from the Acadiana Writing Project, which is an affiliate of the National Writing Project. And it's an affiliation I've enjoyed since 1989, when I was in the first Summer Institute, a 5-week program for teachers of writing. And I was in that program under the directorship of Dr. Ann Doby, to the left, and my bestest teaching buddy, Connie McDonald, in the middle. And because of that experience in the Summer Institute, many professional development opportunities opened to me, and I'm going to venture to say for Connie too. We did research on the rituals of writing, and we surveyed children from their primary school days all the way through elementary school, middle school, high school, adult writers, and professional writers. And then we presented the results of our research at a global literacy conference in Oxford. And 2 years later, we did the same kind of research, but we were looking at the impact of reading on writing and how those two strands intertwined. And we presented our data at a conference in Heidelberg. And here's a picture of us from back in the day. One of the things that we were invited to do was to picture a role for ourselves in the writing project. And Connie and I thought that a writing camp for students in the summer would be the best use of our time and talents. So we started Yeah, You Write. And so for 14 years, we had camps that lasted for about 2 weeks. And we included between 15 and 50 kids, depending on our enrollment, and wrote together. Our flyers for Yeah, You Write were designed by students. So you're seeing student artwork there. The program itself was designed by students because we would poll them and ask them, you know, what are your favorite writing activities and what kinds of things do you like to do? We would list them on the first day of class and then we'd honor them. And because we taught together, we learned how to read kids together. And we were constantly looking at our students and going, oops, writing little notes, this one's not working, or speed this part up, or let's go ahead and modify this. So we learned how to be better teachers because we were teaching in tandem. We got lots of press for it, and we thought we had discovered something new because we used music to get kids to write, we used art to get kids to write, we used movement, we used area celebrities, I guess. We had a Kennedy Center dancer who worked with us. Her children were in our program for the summer, and she did exercises that used movement into word. We had a gifted storyteller among the parents, and we had a visit from Pocahontas one day to tell us her story. We always had student anthologies. Our last one was digital. And we would conclude with a writing marathon where students and their parents would be downtown with us and would have short bursts of writing in cafes and pocket parks and museums, in the water fountain. We'd write all afternoon, and then we would meet in the public library for public readings and for refreshments. And our culminating activity is what taught us about audience and the importance of publication. And there was always standing before the mic. The kids would present their work just like this evening at Barnes & Noble. And then we would leave a little table teepee tents of their writing for visitors in the cafe at Barnes & Noble to enjoy throughout the summer. We tried to take everything that we learned in the summer writing camps into our workshops so that we grew into reading and writing workshop. We also had professional writing experience. We had an adult writing weekend that we all participated in for 20 years. And the local writer who hosted it became our poet laureate, our state's poet laureate, Dr. Darrell Bork. So for 20 years, we would go off into the piney woods in central Louisiana and write for a weekend. And because he was a poet, he taught us how to write poetry. And so we became poets, and we taught our students what he taught us. The winter after Hurricane Katrina was emotionally devastating for teachers. Our district gained 3,000 students, and we welcomed them. We were happy to integrate them into our classrooms. But we had some emotional, I guess, backwash, you'd call it. So one of my colleagues had a home on the Bayou Teche that she was cleaning up. We helped her clean up, and she hosted a family from New Orleans there for a while until they could get on their feet. And when they left it, They left it empty, and it seemed like a good opportunity for us to try to replicate the joy that we had had as adult writers in a writing retreat with our students. So we took a chance, and we went out to the Bayou Teche, and we scooped up about 20 teenagers, and that was an act of courage, I thought. And we did a weekend writing retreat with them just like we did, and we had the ritual of the campfire opening and the embers at the closing, and we had an evening movie which we used as a springboard to get students to write. So that is a tradition that we have continued since February of 2006, and we took the lessons that we had learned there in the writing retreat for students into our classrooms again. This last February, the students took over from us. They pushed us aside, actually, and let us know about scaffolding, I think. And because we made room for them, they inhabited the vacuum, and they planned the workshop. You see here Bonnie McDonald, who was highly identified with the camp. She participated through her sophomore year in college, as did other students like Luke and Ambry. We had 60 to 70% of our students in our writing camps were repeaters. They would keep coming back year after year. And here is Bonnie in conference with Dr. Darrell Bork. And Darrell has attended every Dead of Winter's writing retreat except the first one, because that was the big experiment. Can you throw 20 teenagers together without mayhem overnight for a weekend of writing? And we found out yes. A big important part of my journey was apprenticeship to a Kennedy Center poet who relocated to Lafayette from the DC area. We were so lucky. He fell in love with the exotic beauty of our land, and so he moved into Hidden Hills Lake. And I originally went to a workshop with other teachers, and then I became a groupie, and I started writing grants, and he became my school's poet laureate and poet in residence. And Sandy would spend at least a day a month in my classroom for about 7 years. And when he was gone on his travels, he went to Hawaii, he went to Alaska, he went all over the country. He would send us postcards, which we would read and post. He would take big stacks of student writing, and he would write a class letter back to my students, giving them gentle feedback. And it was a very productive association. I learned from him so much because I had the one side of my brain going of, what is he doing as a writing instructor? And then, of course, I was writing with my students. So I was developing as a poet, too. Sandy worked really well with the kids, and he worked well with cross-curricularly, too. So we involved in our work the French teacher, so we could learn the French names of things, very important in our area. And we involved our gifted science teacher, and we did programs together. One of the most successful was to scoop up the most enthusiastic poets in junior high, and those who were most talented, too, and we would take them to his home on Hidden Hills Lake for a day of writing. He would host us there. When Sandy passed in 2007, you see him here with his favorite view of the lake, he left a hole in my classroom, and he left a hole in our writing project community. And we had to voice that sadness, but also that joy for what he gave us during his time with us. So we organized a community of voices. It was a festival of writing, kind of a festschrift for Sandy in his honor. So we had a weekend of writing, of course, and we had lots of eating, and then we closed out on the banks of his Hidden Hills Lake with a fire and telling tales about the kinds of things he had done for us in our classroom and reading our favorite poems that he had written. We look really hard as teachers for good, appropriate audiences for our students' work. Not every contest is something we want to encourage our children to enter. And we find that there are a couple that are really important that we learned from as we were growing as teachers. River of Words, of course, is paramount, but there are a couple of places on the way that help prepare us for River of Words. One of them was the National Council of Teachers of English, a Promising Young Writers program, which we always participated in and had pretty good success with getting student recognition. Read Magazine has an Ann Arliss Bowler contest, and it's judged by professional writers. And we learned from looking at the winning entries how to peel back a poem and to see the skeleton of what the teacher had done with her students, and to ask, we were always asking, how did she get that? Like listening to Kathy's poem tonight. Where did that come from? How did that teacher cue that response? Or how did Kathy cue her own response in this case? We judged for scholastic writing. We were preliminary judges, so we were able to see the best writing in the country and to ask that question over and over again. How did they get that? We finally decided we were going to do our own contest locally. So we did an area one, the Acadiana area, and we called it The Rites of Spring, W-R-I-T-E-S. And then we thought we need to take it statewide too, so we called it Louisiana Rites. And we've been doing that now since 2004. The winners are honored at the Louisiana Book Festival in the State Library with a ceremony that we modeled off of this one. But we include a few extra genres. We include nonfiction and fiction also. And there we are at St. Joseph's Abbey in Covington. That's a group of us. We're preliminary judges for that state contest. So we're passing the work around and reading it and enjoying it and deciding which ones we'll send on to the professional writers to choose as winners. This is where it really started to get intense for me, my journey with River of Words. In 2000, when my son won the contest, I was trying out a writing exercises on him, an exercise on him, as I often did with my children. They suffered. But before I wanted to do things with my students, I would try them out on my sons until they became unwilling to do that anymore. At 12, Kev was still a willing partner. So when we sat down at the dining room table for me to walk him through an exercise one day, I was very shocked when it worked for him. There he is being honored at 12. He doesn't seem to be very happy, but the district school board had him honored. And then here he is last year. He was invited back to the Library of Congress with, I think it was L.J. Johnson, who was also a grand prize winner back in 2000. So they came back here to speak. Kev is the guy on the right. He has a lot less hair than he did when he was 12. He is currently teaching in France, and he is still writing, but he is writing science fiction, and in his stories, he embeds poems. So I think he might be inventing a new genre, but I'm not sure. All of this layering of learning culminated in this book. We were invited by Milkweed Press, Connie and I, to write an online teaching guide to accompany the River of Words book, Young Poets and Artists on the Nature of Things. And so the things that I've told you probably hint at my being a big thief and a big pilferer. All of the tricks that work for us were tricks that we learned from Sandy Line and from Darrell Bork, and also from going to the Geraldine R. Dodge Poetry Festival and following the likes of Dr. Haas and Lee Young Lee and Linda Poston and taking fierce notes in their workshops about writer's craft. So we learned from many masters, from many mentors. So I know this has been a long story, but then my journey has been a long one. I've taught a really long time, and I'm glad you're not jumping out of the boat too much. There I am in that old, it's the same pirogue that my husband courted me in. And here's a poem that I wrote my first summer in the writing project. Connie did the first real presentation that I understood on poetry. It was not a genre that I was particularly familiar with. I'd done a lot of news writing and, of course, a lot of literary criticism, but I hadn't written poetry myself. So she led an exercise, and then that weekend when we went to Cocodrie to do some fishing with friends, I tried a cast net, which was new for me. And I stood on the dock, and I threw out, and I pulled in, and I hauled in a bunch of shrimp. And then the rhythm of throwing out and pulling in formed this in my head. Song of the Cast Net. Wheel of fortune, fling me free. Swirl your tulle skirt, flirt for me. Cut a saucer, gash the sky, suspend my seconds, hurl me high. Royal with rich life, sift the sea. Wheel of fortune, work for me. I really feel like it has, during my whole teaching career, worked for me, that Wheel of Fortune. If I could sum up what I had to say to teachers and to parents and to students who may one day be teachers, and to everyone who's ever had a teacher, I might say this is my life lesson. Stay together, learn the flowers, go light. Thanks. I'm sorry it was long. I'm old.
Wait. I have a little plaque. A lot of other goodies. There's a lovely quote from creation and death. This is for Harriet, mayor from Lafayette, Louisiana, and on the back. Education is not the pail. It is not the filling of a pail. It's the lighting of a fire. So we're really, okay, it's just about 9. We need to have a group photo. First of all, there's some other teachers here who accompany, could all the teachers in the room stand up? There's some other teachers here who accompanied their students. Barbara Strasco from
All the
Pennsylvania,
teachers.
Peggy
All the
Dickerson from Alabama, Jennifer.
Whoa, whoa. And would all you parents stand up? The parents of these talented kids, please stand up. The parents. Thank you. Doesn't happen without you. And for one last time, the children. Your brilliant work. Would you please all stand up?
A couple of practical matters. Those of you who want Dr. Haas to sign your certificate, probably all of you, bring it up to the stage. But first, John McShane wants to get a group photo of all of our winners and finalists. So where do you want them, John? Right here? Okay, and you parents can take pictures at the same time, too. So, and those of you who we forgot something for, I wrote it down. We will send it in the mail when we get back to California. We apologize. Oh, I didn't think it. I have a few. Thank you. I'd like to thank people too, and I know that it's the, well. Are you listening? Okay. I have people I'd like to thank. First and foremost, Sarah Momolo and Casey McCalduff, who came with me from California, who have just, we could not have done it without them. Thank you, Casey and Sarah. I want to thank John Cole and his staff here at the Center for the Book for making us so welcome. Thank you, John. I want to thank the people who donated prizes, Library of America, Heyday Books, Skipping Tones Magazine, Magnetic Poetry. I want to thank the Center for the Kalmanovitz School of Education at St. Mary's for offering us such a wonderful home. And to all of the teachers and parents who made it possible to bring your kids here today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.